How's it going, folks? Welcome back. I'm Wayne Riles, back for another lesson. So I'm hoping you watched the first lesson and you've come back from the first lesson, because I was just talking about some of the foundations. A couple of things I didn't talk about in the first lesson about the things that you're going to need. Very importantly, you're going to need a plectrum, because at this lesson I'm going to show you how to strum a guitar and how to just play a couple of simple chords. So for playing chords we need quite a flexible plectrum, because there's actually different thicknesses. This is a 0.70, a Dunlop one. You know, if you go into the shop they'll have a tray on the counter with all different thickness plectrums on, and for the chordy stuff you want quite a flexible one. You know, if you like, a really flexible one, because it's going to be easier for actually strumming the guitar. And the harder picks tend to be for the, you know, all the scales and the riffs and the single note stuff, and it's going to cut through a bit more. So you're going to need a plectrum, so a good flexible plectrum. And another thing that's going to come in really handy is what we call a capo. Capo, I call it a capo. And what a capo is, essentially it's a songwriter's tool, because when you get some open chords down, you know, you can change the key of the chord. So if I was playing an E major there, we could take it up one key. We could take it up another key. So it's essentially a songwriter's tool, but I'm not going to go too much into it at the moment with what it actually is, but it's going to be really useful for learning, you know, some basic open chords, and I'll tell you why later. So okay then, so I'm hoping you've got a guitar now, you've got it tuned up and ready to go. So I'm going to show you first of all how to hold a guitar. So if you've got an acoustic guitar and you're sitting down like me, it's very important to have, because whether you've got a full body guitar, this one's got a little cutaway in, but if you've got a full bodied acoustic, it's still going to have the little groove in the bottom of the body there, okay? So if you're sitting down, that's going to go over your right leg, okay? And then we're going to put the top part of the arm over the top of the guitar like that. So we're just resting the arm on, but this arm's nice and relaxed, and it's going to, you know, enable us to do the strumming. So with the strumming, I always say, you know, rather than strumming straight down like that, we're going to be strumming in a little angle. Now, if you've got an acoustic guitar, we're going to be keeping it over the sound hole if we can. So it's going to be not too hard, not too light. You get, you know, a lot of the kids I teach, the first time they'll strum a guitar, it's like, it sounds awful. So, you know, or if you do it too light, you can barely hear it. So there is a bit of a threshold way after, you know. The most important thing is we're catching all the strings evenly. We're going down a little angle like that, nice and relaxed with the arm, and we're catching all the strings so they're all ringing through like that, okay? So that's the first step. When you're quite comfortable doing that, I'm going to show you a couple of chords, okay? So the first chord that I show everybody is an E minor chord. So you're going to require a couple of fingers for this. And the fingering on a guitar is as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4. So your forefinger, your little pinky, that's always your forefinger. I always tell this people, because I think on a piano, I teach a few students that play piano, and they get confused because the first finger on a piano is actually a thumb. So on a guitar it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's important to know, because when we're going to be looking at these chord sheets, it's going to tell you what fingers to use. So I'm going to tell you how to read chords now. So I've printed a sheet off, if we can see that. So these are all chord boxes, okay? And the first chord we're going to be looking at is an E minor chord, okay? Now the way this works, it's like looking at the top part of the guitar. The first 5 frets are going that way, okay? The thick black line is the nut, what we talked about in the first lesson, okay? And the lines that go the other way are the strings. So that string is the bottom E, that one is the A, which is that one, D, G, B, E. So most important thing is that is the bottom string there. So that's telling us that this chord I'm going to be showing you now, the E minor chord, we want the second finger, if we're looking at a guitar like that, it's going to go there, and then the third finger is going to go underneath it, and I'm going to obviously show you properly now. So this is the E minor chord, so we want a second finger, that's going to be going on the second fret, the the second string down, or up from the bottom if you like. So the second finger there, and the third finger's going to go underneath it. So if you can see that. Okay. And the most important thing is when you're playing a chord as well, is really keep it on the tip of your finger. You've really got to try and stand your fingers up. So if you can get your hand, if you find it a bit of a struggle reaching, you know, get your wrist a little bit further underneath. That part of the palm is going to be pretty much all the way up to the neck. That's going to enable us to press his fingers down harder. His thumb's going to be, as long as it's not touching the strings, it's resting on the top and it's out of the way. So, but the most important thing is to keep your fingers right on the tips. Because if you don't, if they're slightly lying down, they're going to be catching other strings. You're going to be muting strings out. So you got to be able to pick them notes out. And I won't lie to you, it will really hurt your fingers if it, well, not really hurt, but you'll make your fingers a little bit sore. But it's something that we get used to very quickly. Obviously, with practice, you know, you don't have to practice too much as a beginner. Maybe 15 minutes, 4 or 5 times a week. You know, that's plenty to start. You don't need to go in on 2 hours a night, even if you're really keen. Honestly, my advice: don't do that. Little 15 minutes, little chunks more often, more effective. So, okay, so the E minor chord. So we want a second finger on the second fret, second string down from the top, or the bottom, which is the proper name. The third finger's going to be underneath, so right on the tips. So this should sound, if we do the strumming again like we did before. So this is the E minor chord. Okay, and we're playing all the strings on this. So all the strings are what we call open. Okay, so that's the first chord in E minor. So we're away now, we're rocking. That's the first chord. Okay, so a chord that's very similar to that, I'm going to show you another chord now, is an Asus2 chord. So it's basically the same as the first chord, but basically we're moving each finger down one string. Only this time, when you see the little cross against the string like that, that means that string becomes what we call shut. So we're only going to be playing the bottom 5 strings. I'll just explain that. So we got the first chord, which was the E minor chord. So, okay. So what we're going to be doing now, all we're going to do, we're going to drop both fingers down one string like that, okay? So it's exactly the same chord, but we've moved it down. Now this turns it into what we call an Asus2 chord. The same as the E minor, you know, obviously it's a different chord, a different sound, but it's the same finger positions, okay? Only this time, what I talked about with the cross on the string, this bottom string then becomes what we call shut, okay? So we're only going to be playing the bottom 5 strings, and it's a little bit tricky to start off with because the natural fingers, you know, playing strings individually is very difficult to start off with, but so we're going to be playing the bottom 5 strings, which should give you this chord. So that's an Asus2. Okay? So that's an Asus2 chord. Okay, so we've got the E minor chord, so that'll be just moving each finger back up another string again, then we play all the strings. That's the E minor chord. Okay? And then we've got the Asus2 chord, that's moving the fingers back down again, and again playing the bottom 5 strings. Okay, so that's your first lesson on a guitar. I hope it's been successful with yourselves. It's been a joy teaching you, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much.